The St. Johns River, one of Florida's greatest natural resources, provides not only raw beauty, but also food, water, and habitat to countless animals, plants, and organisms which form a healthy and balanced ecosystem. Ancient inhabitants of Florida settled along the banks of the St. Johns River due to the availability of these life-giving resources. The Timucuan Indians named the St. Johns River Wekiva, or River of Lakes, because there are nearly 3,500 lakes found within its watershed. A watershed, also called a drainage basin, is an area of land that contains a common set of streams and rivers which drain into a single larger body of water, such as a river, lake, or ocean. The St. Johns River watershed encompasses nearly 9,000 square miles and is home to approximately 5 million people. That's nearly 16% of the landmass of the state of Florida. Someone needs to care for the water bodies which are part of this watershed, and this is where you come in. St. John's Riverkeeper was formed with one simple mission: to defend and advocate for the protection of the St. Johns River. This mission is designed to ensure we have a thriving St. Johns River watershed that sustains healthy ecosystems for future generations. Through education, engagement, and involvement in issues and policies which positively impact our river, we look to inspire others to protect the St. Johns River. Now here's an advocate you may know. Just as the Lorax was the voice for the trees, St. John's Riverkeeper is an advocate for our river. However, caring for our river is everyone's responsibility. Since St. John's Riverkeeper cannot do it alone, we rely on you to protect and preserve the river, and we are always here to help. The longest river in Florida at 310 miles in length, the St. Johns River flows north through 12 counties. The reason the river flows north is due to the fact that the headwaters near Vero Beach, Florida, are 27 feet higher in elevation than where the river empties into the Atlantic Ocean near Jacksonville, Florida. This means that due to the force of gravity, the elevation of the river drops only 1 inch per mile from beginning to end, making it one of the laziest rivers in the world. Think about that. Only 1 tiny inch of drop in elevation per mile traveled. It's not much, but it's enough to give it its northerly flow. When you see the water of the St. Johns River, you may notice its brown or yellowish color. Many people think the water is brown because of pollution, dirt, and animal waste. And although these things are found in the river, if you were to remove it from a small sample, the color of the water would still be brown. This is because the water is stained from something called tannins, which is naturally found in leaves and bark. Think of our river like a cup or glass of tea. When you add water to tea leaves to make a cup of hot tea or glass of iced tea, the water turns brown from the tannins in the tea leaves. Well, it's the same with our river. You might even say our river is like a giant cup of oak leaf tea. But don't drink it, because you know river animals don't have restrooms. The St. Johns River can be viewed as having 3 separate sections, or basins: the upper basin, middle basin, and lower basin. But remember, the river flows north, so the upper basin is actually the section of the river further south, and the lower basin is the section of the river further north. Just a little confusing? Luckily, it's easy to remember that the middle basin is in the middle no matter what direction the river flows. What's interesting about each basin is each has its own characteristics for how it looks, its variety of plant life, and what animals can be found. While certain species, such as osprey, eagles, turtles, cormorants, alligators, and tapegrass, are found in all three basins, some plants and animals are found in only one or two basins. Factors which help determine what animal and plant life we find in each basin is the type of water, the speed of the current, and the amount of human activity. The upper basin, which begins on Blue Cypress Lake in Indian River County, Florida, contains fresh water provided mostly by rain. Here you will find bald cypress trees, largemouth bass, alligators, and otters. The current is calm and slow, which makes it a draw for kayakers who want to enjoy the water at a leisurely pace. A unique feature of the upper basin is its swamps and shallow lakes, which can also make it more difficult to navigate. The river's upper basin has a natural, undisturbed look to the river and lower human impact. The middle basin, also made up of fresh water, is home to most of the 100 springs found in the St. Johns River watershed. We are fortunate to have these natural springs in Florida, which provide about 30% of the fresh water to the river. Since the water coming from springs remains at 72 degrees year-round, manatees migrate to the springs during the winter months to stay warm, when the water in the St. Johns River drops below 72 degrees. Many of the same types of animals and plant life found in the upper basin are also found in the middle basin, and this area also enjoys a calm current. Kayakers take advantage of the natural feel of the river here, and people come from all over to swim, scuba dive, or simply float in the cool, pristine waters of the springs. In the lower basin, the St. Johns River becomes much wider with a stronger, faster current. The lower basin of the watershed is comprised of fresh, brackish, and salt waters. In the transition from the middle basin to the entrance of the lower basin, the water is still mostly fresh, but as the St. Johns River flows towards and through downtown Jacksonville, the water becomes brackish, or a mixture of fresh and salt water. While some of the same plants and animals in the upper and middle basins are present here, different species can also be found. Here, the salinity, or saltiness of the water, varies depending on what area of the lower basin you are in. For example, dolphin have been sighted as far south as downtown Jacksonville, although they are predominantly saltwater mammals. Some varieties of trees more plentiful in the upper and middle basins, such as the bald cypress, give way to mangroves and saltwater grasses. The farther the river travels north towards the Atlantic Ocean, the saltier the water becomes. As the river nears its end, a turn in a more easterly direction towards the ocean results in higher salinity and a change of scenery. Mud and salt flats are host to new species of fish and birds. Jellyfish, stingrays, and occasional shark may be seen swimming among the oyster beds, and marsh hens can be heard cackling in the grasses. How we interact with our river changes, and the impact becomes more prevalent. The landscape on the banks of the St. Johns River changes from oak and cypress trees to buildings and homes, and kayakers must give way for container ships transporting goods to the port. All of this increased human activity results in more impact on this precious natural resource. As we discussed previously, the St. Johns River watershed covers nearly 9,000 square miles. Within that area are thousands of streams and rivers which feed into the St. Johns. These streams and rivers are called tributaries. Think of it like a tree. The St. Johns River is the trunk of a tree, and the branches are its tributaries. The tributaries are connected and essential to the health of the river. Therefore, if they become polluted and sick, so does the St. Johns River. This is why we must all care for the water around us. There may be a tributary close to where you live, and you may not even know it. But even if you do not live directly near a tributary or on a tributary, your actions can impact the river without even realizing it. One way to illustrate our direct connection to the river is through the everyday plastic bag. Our neighborhoods have storm drains in the streets and gutters where rainwater is designed to go after a shower or storm. Everything that enters those storm drains empties directly into our tributaries, which then goes right into the river. So an item like a plastic bag that may catch a breeze and end up in the street may then be swept down a storm drain during a pouring rain. The bag then goes into our waterways where it pollutes the river and could make a river animal ill or worse. Keeping storm drains clean and empty of trash and debris is just one way to have a positive impact on our tributaries and river. Every river deserves protection. Our rivers are natural resources which provide beauty, wildlife, plants, and a whole amazing ecosystem of organisms. Protecting our rivers is necessary to the health of our planet, our cities, and our lives. It's everyone's responsibility to protect our waterways. The St. Johns River needs as many advocates as it can get. What will you do to be an advocate? How will you speak for the river? Start by taking the River-Friendly Pledge. Go to stjohnsriverkeeper.org to find the pledge and join us in being a voice for the St. Johns River.